Man, that show was just something else, wasn't it? That show also made me extremely terrified of Gorgonops growing up, mainly because of that episode's whole portrayal of it. It was horrifying. Fortunately, that's not actually Gorgonops. I think that they called it Gorgonops because it belongs to the Gorgonopsidae family, but it's not actually the genus Gorgonops itself. No, what it more closely resembles is an Inostransevia, which is again, a Gorgonopsid that lived in Russia in the late Permian period. This guy was huge. It was a big therapsid, and definitely the top predator of the area. It had legs that were underneath the body, so it can pursue prey a lot quicker. Again, it was giant, and it had huge fangs that would very easily be able to puncture the skin of tough prey items. So chances are, back in the late Permian, you probably wouldn't want to come across something like this. Design-wise, it's not a bad design. I mean, it's bigger than it probably would have been in life. They made it absolutely huge in the show, which of course, again, it was huge, but I don't think as huge. And the skin is textured a lot more bumpy, kind of crocodilian than it would have been in life. It likely had a smoother, almost mammalian skin texture with maybe some hairs, whiskers here and there. Something like that, of course, is up for debate. But all in all, it's a really solid design and portrays the animal very well. It's a huge shame that Gorgonopsids don't really show up in popular media too often, or really get the same popularity as, say, like a Dimetrodon from the Permian. Because honestly, they're terrifying, they're awesome, and there's a lot that can be learned about them. I mean, it's probably because they don't have like a flashy feature like Dimetrodon, but justice for Gorgonopsids. They're really cool animals. We need to spread the word. This absolute unit is known as Barinasuchus. Barinasuchus is a relative to modern-day crocodilians that lived in South America and went extinct as recent as 12 million years ago. It's not known for much. Currently, it's really best known from an articulated skull fossil, with a few other pieces of it here and there. However, we're able to compare it to other Sebekids, and so we're able to deduce the overall way it potentially could have looked like, as well as its overall size. The skull is estimated to come in at around 95 to 115 centimeters long, and it would have likely had a body length that would reach up to 20 feet long. Again, comparing to other Sebekids and looking at its teeth, it was likely a terrestrial predator, so unlike modern-day crocodilians, it would not have been semi-aquatic. Its teeth are actually very similar to that of modern-day Komodo dragons or theropod dinosaurs in the fact that they are more serrated, curved back, and thinner, which is extremely different to crocodilians in general. It would have definitely been something that could run. It most certainly was not built for endurance, rather it would likely be an ambush predator that would stalk and attack its prey like that. Interestingly enough, with the overall size estimates that we have for it, this makes this the largest terrestrial predator that lived in the Cenozoic. That includes today. It likely grew to such sizes in order to keep up to the increasingly growing megafauna of mammals at the time, so that it could better be successful at its niche, because this was most likely the top predator in its area. This awesome fella is known as Sivatherium. Sivatherium lived in Africa during the Pleistocene, and ever since their discovery they went through sort of an identification crisis. Given their odd skull features, what they were related to was always a topic of debate. For the longest time it was believed they shared relation with antelope and the North American pronghorn, until more fossil material was found and it was concluded that they belonged to the Giraffidae family, which of course includes modern okapi and giraffes, the only two surviving members of this family. Sivatherium was overall a lot more stocky than its relatives today, but still had some height to it, coming in at around 9 feet tall. It also likely shared similar eating habits to its relatives, down to using its tongue to maneuver around branches and grab vegetation. But while modern giraffes are primarily browsers, analysis of Sivatherium's teeth indicate it would partake in both browsing and grazing. The reasons for their extinction is thought to be in changing climate, which is truly unfortunate. The Giraffidae family used to have several members and was incredibly diverse as a whole. All the more reason for us to preserve what we have today. Okay, so this is a cool one. Meet Arizonosaurus. Arizonosaurus is a tenosaurid pseudosaucian that lived in the Middle Triassic of what is now North America. Because we have a fairly complete skeleton, we are able to piece together a decent amount about this animal, such as the fact that it was terrestrial, a carnivore, and overall not very tall, though could reach lengths of about 10 feet. Oh, and probably the most striking feature is the sail, a structure that has become quite famous over the years, mainly on account of dinosaurs like Spinosaurus. But I mean, it's interesting because there are a few examples of sails showing up in many different groups of reptiles and even synapsids, which is fascinating because while it's not necessarily common, it still shows up enough in the fossil record to raise some eyebrows, because we still don't know the true function of it. Of course, there are some hypotheses, one being the idea that they could have been used as thermal regulation, or put simply to control their body temperature, while another popular idea is that they were simply display structures that appeared independently in many different groups. Whatever the function may be, Arizonosaurus is one on that list, and it ties it all together to make a very interesting looking animal.